Man, I have been trying to make this video for a few weeks. Hello everyone, welcome to Birth Witch. My name is Jennifer and I am a doula in training / midwife to be one day. So what I'm here to talk about today is a few weeks ago I got sent a article in the news about how the BC College of Midwives, I am in BC, British Columbia, Canada, so the governing body of the midwives, the nurses and midwives, is the BCCNM, and they released a warning that 4 women in our province were thought to be practicing midwifery without a license. So when I saw this article, my first feeling was actually quite a lot of grief, because I know that really the reason that they are issuing this warning is because they have to. And I know how serious it is to practice medicine without a license. So I'm not discounting that at all. But I think in this case, these women who are allegedly practicing midwifery without a license, I looked at all of their social media and their websites, and they market themselves as traditional birth attendants. And what they do is they witness regular physiological birth at home. And I can't speak for them, but from my understanding, these women are witnessing free births. They are not misleading the public. They aren't misleading these women. These birthing women who hire them look specifically for them because they are looking for someone to witness their birth, a wise woman to sit with them and be with them during this really vulnerable time. And they aren't looking for traditional birth attendants to come to their free births because they're being reckless. They're doing it because they're kind of left with very little choice at the end of the day, what kind of care and what kind of birth they're able to have. To me, it felt like these birth attendants were being villainized and by other women, by other midwives. And I think this kind of just goes to show that licensure is not everything. The BCCNM, they need to issue this warning to the public. It's part of their job. And that's sad. And I will say that when I went to their website, it didn't say the same things that it says in the news, but the news had pictures of these women, had their names listed, and I just thought, wow, these women, these birth attendants, they are showing up for women. They are sitting with them and letting them birth the way they want to. And the media is making them out to be these witches that are killing babies in the woods. And yeah, I felt icky about it. And I kind of sat with that for a while because I'm pretty new to the birth world. And I kind of thought, well, who am I to even really have feelings about this? So I kind of looked to other people in the birth world and in this community. And what I found was that everybody feels the same way. Like, this is not okay. And none of these people who are doulas and midwives, none of them believe that people should be practicing without a license. But it really saddened them to see these women named and listed and pictured in the news for providing a service that is really actually quite needed. So this article being written kind of opened up a conversation between me and a lot of people, actually, and I found that that was really interesting. So I read it and I would talk to, my friends about it, my family about it, and they were like, what? How dare these women lie and cheat their way into the medical system by pretending to be midwives? And I was like, whoa, 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 like, this is not at all what is happening. And then once I explained it a little bit more in detail, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, what? And I just think that that's really important to remember when you are reading these kinds of articles, that there is another side to the story. These aren't women who are working at a midwifery clinic and clients are coming to them expecting a registered licensed midwife and getting someone who doesn't even have that training. The women hiring them know what they're getting, and they are looking for that specifically because some people feel safer not in the hospital. Some people feel safer at home. Some people feel safer without all these medical interventions. And really, the evidence shows that they are safer without those interventions. So they should have the opportunity and the choice to birth where they want. And then the medical system, the hospital, the doctors, they're there. They are there if something happens and they're needed. So I think that this raises a really important question. Is normal physiological birth a medical event? Is it a medical emergency? Or is it a natural process that, for the most part, just needs to be witnessed and supported, not managed? Because I think that when we criminalize supporting birth outside of the system, we are implying that birth can only happen safely within the confines of a hospital, and that's just not really the case. I know that in my town, home birth is an option, but only one of 2 midwifery clinics even offer it. And even to get in to a midwife is next to impossible. So that really leaves not very many options. And I think that the real issue here is that women don't have the options to choose their care providers, to choose their place of birth, to choose their type of birth. We don't have enough care providers in this province, in this country, in this world, probably. I know of so many women who don't have OBs. They don't have midwives. They are being told to go to walk-ins for their prenatal care, and then they're told to show up at the hospital when they're in labor and just have whoever is on call. And that is not okay. And I understand that there's only so much that can be done about it, but maybe the answer is to support women's right to choose how they birth, because it is not a medical emergency, because it is a normal process that happens and will happen whether or not we're in the hospital. That doesn't mean that there isn't value in seeking medical attention. That doesn't mean that the people who choose to give birth in the hospital are wrong. That doesn't mean that people who choose OBs are wrong. But I do believe that we should have more of a choice in our own care. And don't get me wrong, there is a line where licensure is crucial. I do not want to go to the doctor's office and have some rando who isn't a doctor performing care on me. Absolutely not. I don't want to go to the hospital and think I have a nurse, and I don't. But like I said earlier, there's a big difference between seeking care outside the system and being lied to. And that's not what happened in this situation, because I don't think that supporting birth is about practicing medicine. It's about holding space and offering guidance through a very natural process. And when I read stories like this, and I'm bringing this up, but I mean, this happens every year, all the time, always. This is not the first time that maybe even these particular women have been called out. It's definitely not the first time that unlicensed midwives have been called out. But when I read stories like this, I can't help but feel like I am witnessing a modern day witch hunt. And the heartbreaking part is that it's being initiated by women, by other midwives, people who should understand the importance of choice and bodily autonomy. And instead of supporting these women's choices to birth outside the system, they are villainizing and criminalizing it. And I think the right thing to do would be to honor these choices and to maybe come up with some other ideas as to what these women can do, because telling them to show up at the hospital in labor and hope that the doctor on call is not trash, we need to come up with other ideas of how to fix this problem. And I understand that we are working against a really big system, and not only that, but a very deep cultural fear of birth, and especially birth not in a hospital. But we have been taught to be afraid of it. We have been shown that it's scary, that it's dangerous. We watch movies, we got the media. Even when we talk to other women about our births, nobody says, it was the best day of my life. It was so powerful. I felt powerful. It was amazing. I can't believe that I did that. Everyone just talks about how terrible it was. And I understand that because I've definitely played into that as well. But these kind of narratives, they drive the fear. They really stoke it up. And I think that working towards a place where we don't fear birth anymore would be a really good place to start. How do we do that? How do we do that? Because fear drives these witch hunts, right? So I've been given the chance to learn about traditional birth keeping and possibly step into that space. And I felt really excited about it because that's exactly what I want. So I did a lot of soul searching for a couple of days, because to take that path would mean to step away from my goals of becoming a midwife. And for a minute, I thought, yeah, that's exactly what I want. But I listened to this podcast called Birth Through the Veil, and this woman named Layla Nadiri was a guest. And one thing she said has really just struck me, been inside me, been changing me. And what she said was something along the lines of, instead of focusing so much on what we're against, why don't we focus on what we're for? I love that. And it made me think of like, what I'm against. I'm against a lot of things, especially in the birth world. But what am I for? I am for standing with and supporting women through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. That is what I'm for. And that is what I'm going to do. And whether that is as a traditional birth attendant or as a medical midwife, I will stand with women and support them in whatever they choose through this super important transformative time. So that's kind of what I am doing. But I did send a letter to the College of Midwives stating that more needs to be done in our communities, that giving a warning about these women isn't enough. We need to figure out the problem. We need actual solutions. So I challenge everybody to take this kind of letter and send it to the College of Midwives, send it to your local MLAs, send it to the Premier, send it to the Prime Minister, send it to the King of England. This is something that we need an answer. We need a solution. And unless we stand up and tell them that we care about this, they're going to keep going on the way they have been for the last 100 years, since the really true medicalization of birth. Why would they change it? Why would they change it unless we tell them we don't want this anymore? We want a better way. So I'm going to put the letter that I wrote in the show notes somewhere, or a link to it or something. And if you feel called to stand up for this as well, perhaps take it, copy it, change it, send it away, send it off to them, and let's try to make some change. So what do you think? Do you think that traditional birth attendants should be allowed? Do you think that the only option should be hospital and maybe home if you're lucky? Do you think your only option should be midwife or OB? What do you think? Because I've gone down the rabbit hole and it's really interesting. So if you're interested in finding out more, comment down below. Let's start this conversation. Let's get down into it. And I'd really love to hear what you think. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe ring the little bell so that you get notified next time I upload a video, which hopefully won't be quite this long. And I guess I'll see you next time. Bye. To the BC College of Nurses and Midwives. I am writing to express my concerns regarding the recent public warning issued about unlicensed individuals practicing midwifery in British Columbia. While I understand the importance of regulating healthcare professions to ensure safety and accountability, I believe this warning raises deeper questions about the state of maternity care in our province. The reality is that many birthing individuals turn to unlicensed providers not out of recklessness, but because they feel abandoned or unsupported by the current system. The shortage of licensed care providers, particularly in rural and undeserved areas, leaves pregnant individuals with limited options. Even when care is available, many report feeling constrained by their ability to make choices that align with their values and desired birth experiences. This warning, while likely issued with the intent of protecting public safety, seems to ignore these systemic challenges. I can't help but wonder what the BCCNM hope to achieve by issuing it. What practical steps are being taken to address the root causes that drive people to seek unlicensed care? How does this warning contribute to fostering trust, access, and empowerment in maternity care? If the goal is truly to protect and support birthing individuals, we need solutions that expand access to midwifery care and respect the autonomy of those giving birth. What plans does the BCCNM have to address the shortage of care providers and the barriers to choice that exist within the current system? I urge the college to consider these larger issues and to engage in meaningful dialogue with both care providers and the communities they serve. The solution cannot simply be to enforce the status quo. We need a system that fully supports and honors the diverse needs of birthing people in British Columbia. What?
What are you doing?